Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Preimesberger, editor of eWEEK. Thank you very much for joining us today on this latest installment of eWEEK eSPEAKS, which is a series of informal conversations with IT thought leaders from every corner of the business. Our interviewee today is Pavan Singh. Pavan is the CEO of Lynx Software. And Pavan, you are the CEO, correct?
I'm the Vice President of Product Management.
Oh, sorry about that. I tried to give you a promotion, but I guess it didn't work there. Anyway, nice to see you. And I know we've met before. Pavan, can you tell me a little bit about your background, where you've been previous to Lynx?
Yeah, thank you for that. I'm an engineer at heart and a nerd by training. I've been I've been at Lynx for about a year and a half. Before that, I've been both in the embedded side of things, as well as more on the cloud side of things. I spent a number of years at Cisco, looking at starting new businesses in both the IoT arena as well as cloud applications.
Okay, so Cisco, we may have met at Cisco before, via Cisco.
Likely.
Before.
Yeah.
I think that's entirely possible. That's one of those companies that, everybody talks to at one time or another, because they're just, everywhere and embedded everywhere. What did you do at Cisco exactly?
I had a number of roles. A lot of them was helping our customers look at digital transformation as driving business growth. And it was both enterprise customers as well as telco carrier customers, and then the latter parts of working on the IoT side and really looking at from the IoT angle, where sometimes people have a different view of IoT, but it spans from knowledge workers to the industrial domain to automotive. So it's quite transformative in how workers do their work, both in an office, on a factory floor, from their homes. As well as how data is consumed. So it's quite amazing of the number of transformations that can happen, and that kind of brought me to Lynx as well, where the pressure on protecting data and making sure there's freedom to work from anywhere is really critical, and that is, especially in the COVID times now. We are really able to really help that digital transformation, not just for the IT applications, but for knowledge workers as well.
Very good. So Lynx, Lynx, by the way, like the animal.
Thank you.
Although it's a very relevant term in the web world, it makes a lot of sense there. Tell me a little bit about the product itself. Is it a platform, a SaaS platform that people can subscribe to and use? And then if so, tell me how it's used in the real world.
Yeah, so Lynx, it's not a SaaS platform. We are an edge company. We call our flavor a mission critical edge. Mm-hmm. And what that means is that whenever, and so we provide the infrastructure layer for the edge on which different applications run. So a number one thing is an example, we provide the infrastructure layer that delivers the next generation of highly secure endpoints, servers, and so on, because we have learned through our experiences. Lynx has been around for 30 years. That just security, reliability are the top critical things that are really important, and at times they can be overlooked for the sake of scalability. So we provide that mission critical infrastructure layer that can allow the highest level of security and reliability and even safety, and while making sure that there is scalability and flexibility.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. So is it actually it's software that goes in edge devices?
Yes.
Correct. And
yes.
does it help connect the edge devices wherever they are? Is that it?
Absolutely. So just to kind of put a little bit more color on that. Mm-hmm. So it's a software that helps you, in some ways, yes. So you can connect from wherever you are, and the reason I paused a bit is because there's a lot to unpack there. Because connecting from wherever you are means that you can deal with whatever functionality that you want to deal with, as well, while making sure that you're not compromised. And Lynx actually did a survey recently. I don't know if you have a chance to look at it, Chris. That a lot of people work from the remote locations. A lot of people they are a lot of companies don't really prohibit. I mean, in our survey, 60% people said that their companies did not prohibit use of apps and tools that meet high security standards. So what that means for us is that working from anywhere means that we can separate out the applications that need the highest level of security and reliability from applications that really are not that sensitive. But everything should be secure, but some things are not that, don't have to be that secure, while others are absolutely required to be secure.
Okay, so how is this enabled? Is it connecting the edge devices with the cloud and therefore to other controls on the outside? So help me get a picture of this. Is this something that an enterprise is going to look at, you know, in a laptop or a phone, so that you can control that device?
Yeah.
On the
So we are
remote side?
yes. So thank you. And at times the positioning infrastructure can be challenging. So I think Chris, you're saying that. So in some ways we are the underlying layer. It's just a thin layer of what we call it at the type 0 hypervisor, because it's so much more thinner than a type 1 hypervisor, which is a well-known thing.
Mm-hmm.
And what that does is that there are two key things that really become critical. One is how do you isolate different applications and different workloads, let's say, because today's can be anything, um, from the ones based on what level of security is needed. That's number one. So that happens at the edge device itself. The second part really is that how do you ensure that the information flow from your edge device to an application, whether it's public cloud or private cloud, that happens in a seamless manner. And what we have done is we have made a mission for ourselves to meet the highest requirements that any point of time exists. So right now we are looking at meeting the NSA's what they call CSFC requirements, and the goal is that they just to give a little bit of flavor on that, they focus on what they call as data in transit. That's the data is going there, and how do you secure that? And they use double encryption for that. And then the data at rest, which is the data sitting in the device. So how do you make sure that the most secure application cannot have access to the application that's not as secure? So what we have done is we have provided the capability to kind of serve or make available these immutable partitions, in which you can almost have like your typical unsecured Windows OS running, but you can also have like a highly secure, a completely new OS. So think about a laptop having two different operating systems because that's what it needs. But if I want to kind of boil that up further, we even have today, when you think about VPNs, it typically runs on an operating system. And by what that means is that typically an unsecured operating system. So what that means is that if the operating system is compromised, anything above that is compromised. In our case, we run the VPN as a completely separate application on its completely separate OS on its completely separate partition. That's not even visible to the user. So and that applies to a potential threat as well.
Okay, so it's almost like a fabric, right? Would you call it that?
Yes. So you're going to some of the terms that we use in the network. So in some ways, we provide the fabric. We also provide the partitioning and isolation
Okay.
between the different applications.
Very good.
So in some ways, so somebody would take a server or a laptop with our software on it, and then they would install their applications. To them, they wouldn't realize what's going on in the background. But it's kind of like, the way I think about this is that if you go to an office, you got a firewall, you got malware detection, you got a bunch of other things. All of that is now fit into your laptop device, and it's going everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what we are aiming to serve and help and the knowledge workers, and it comes down to flexibility.
Okay. Does this application fabric, or whatever we want to call it, it's very, very different from many things that we've been talking about lately. So I have to give you credit for that. Give the company credit for that. Does it have reporting ability, or what? Can you run reports based on the information gathered by Lynx?
Yeah, so I mean, just a bit on the history of the company. The company's been around for about multiple decades,
Yeah.
and this technology has been developed over a decade, and it's been deployed in highly mission critical things like automotives and planes and things like that. So our goal, number one goal, is that we provide, and we live by this word called theoretically provable. So it's, if you can prove the isolation is theoretically provable, that's a real isolation. So I think that's what we go for. A lot of the data that we generate. So what Lynx also has, because of this thin layer, is access to the nitty gritty of what's going on in the hardware platform. So if a malware or anything tries to come subvert the operating system and tries to access something, our platform will know. And what we do then is make the data available to any sort of reporting mechanism, any of the seams available out there.
Okay. So, all right, let me go one step further. We have only about a minute or two left, Pavan, but would you consider Lynx to be almost an observability type platform? Because it's out there touching all these devices and doing reporting, or what?
So we are the infrastructure layer on which the applications run. Okay. And in our case, we help we enable the observability. Okay. Because in our case, that's one, and because by the lieu of enabling observability, we are able to lock down things such as USB devices. I mean, for example, in our survey, 60% of users said that they use USB to move files, and that's such a vulnerability, because you can have a USB, you don't load some file from somewhere on the internet, it's got malware on it, you plug it in and it's got full access. Yeah. But in our case, because we sit so low out there, you can make sure that when a particular operating system comes up, application comes up, the USB cannot even access that. So I think in some ways, we are the observability and the lockdown mechanism in some ways, and that happens because of the underlying isolation and the information flow management that we do.
That's a great real world use case. We all use USBs, but you're right. They have to be locked down and controlled and monitored, and that's partially what you do. But that helps people understand what you do. So this is great, Pavan. Thank you very much for the overview on Lynx. And it's one of those things that sometimes we just don't know about. It's back there. It's in the background working all the time and doing its job. And it's like things like, it kind of reminds me of like XML. Remember XML? I mean,
yes,
that was huge. And then we talked about and wrote about it a lot, and the connecting tissue for this and that. We don't even think about it anymore, but it's still out there doing this job, isn't it? And Lynx is kind of the same way. Thanks very much, Pavan Singh.
Thank you.
The Vice President of Product. Is that it for the company?
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us today on eWEEK eSpeaks.
Thank you, Chris.
And
pleasure to be here.
Yeah, good to see you. And for everybody following along to the end here, thank you very much, and have a great rest of your eWEEK. Thanks for joining us on eWEEK eSpeaks. Go to eWEEK.com to hear more conversations with IT thought leaders.